For all of you celebrating today, Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas. Have a beautiful, warm, loving, just cozy holiday today. It is a beautiful time of year for me, anyways. I really enjoy Christmas time. And this year I'm very, very lucky because I've got my entire family here, except for my brother, who is in the States. But the rest of the family is here, and that's pretty nice. So we're having a big party today, a big grill out. We don't. Our oven is broken, so we haven't been able to bake anything. We have a wood oven, and so we're cooking in there, and it's better. It takes longer, and it takes more focus, but the results are better. It's better. The food tastes better. It's kind of interesting. And as you all know me, as I have these, take the tiny things in my life, the subtle, mostly insignificant things, and I think about them because I have the space and the time to do so. It is the fact of my life here on this tiny little Greek island, living in a rural place. You tend to have more time, and because my kids are grown, and although they are here at the moment, they don't need a mom all the time. They're 25, so but there is still. I'm still taken away from my studio and focused on the family. So anyways, thinking about these tiny little changes, and I wanted to put it out there on this Christmas day about disrupting the pattern, disrupting we put in play our lives. Ugh. Oh, I'm getting that swirling thing like I'm going to get disconnected any moment now, and I might. So I'll do my best to get this out. I was journaling, in my journal, journaling. And of the Renaissance time choral music, it's slanted towards, I suppose, into a religious context. I think most of the lyrics, although I don't understand them because they're in Italian mostly, that they're geared towards the sacred and the holy. And but I love the sounds of the choral music, and it's just very, 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 it just brings me into focus and just really calms all the various thoughts going on up here. So my girls bought their dad a canary, and the canary is still young and learning how to sing. So he's not, singing yet. And I was in the kitchen where we have the canary, and I decided that I would play rather than my typical music, which puts me right into focus and gets me right into the blank page and my pen on the page, and that whole feeling of opening and of creativity and words coming to me and thoughts coming without my specifically pointing myself towards those thoughts. They just kind of show up, right? Kind of like a downloading, and I'm in focus there, and that's what happens. And I do it every day. So it is a strong habit. I put on the canary, from YouTube a canary singing, and our little bird, Freddie, is jumping from his little perch to the other perch, and hearing and chirping. He's not singing at all yet, but listening and excited. And I'm trying to write, and my thoughts were totally disrupted. Everything about my typical practice, where I put on my headphones and I'm listening to this very mellow, beautiful, sacred choral music, was just shot out of the park. It just no longer was, and I was focusing on how my thoughts. I couldn't focus. I couldn't put the words the way I wanted on the page. I had things to say, but because of this bird music, which was beautiful, it just wasn't what I was used to in my habit. I had a hard time. And so what's the lesson, right? I'm asking myself, what's the lesson? And big deal. It's a canary singing in my, on my phone rather than the choral music. Why was that so disruptive to my journal practice? And it was a tiny little thing, just a tiny little alteration, and it just changed everything. So I was thinking about it in a creative way, obviously. That's what I do. And thinking that, again, realizing, being shown that if we do not step out of our habits, out of our comfort zone, nothing ever happens. We never really move forward. There is no new birth into our creative realm, into our own creative expression as artists. Nothing can happen. We just get stuck in what we're doing over and over and over and over. And we're not growing that way. Not at all. And so I was thinking about that, and I absolutely loved that. I love, one of the things, I'm going to talk about what I really like about me without hopefully sounding vain, without getting trapped into vanity. But what I actually really do enjoy that I have the space and the time to take notice of these tiny little things, like this tiny little practice. Does that mean I'm going to put on canary music every morning while I'm writing in my journal? No, I'll go back to what I love to listen to. But noticing that difference of how I was reacting to everything because of my habit, and then stepping out of the habit, noticing how much that embellished and helped me grow, even just a tiny bit of stepping over my typical boundaries. You guys, this is what we always have to do. We always need to keep pushing beyond. Doesn't mean we're going to stay in that beyond space, but you can step beyond what you normally do, what you think is right, what you believe to your core. Just let it go for an instant and try and take a look at the other side and get a different perspective. Because when you're painting, if you're not always pushing your perspective on what you're doing, you're never going to reach that level of artistry that you are pushing towards. You're never going to be able to put yourself in that place of depth and growth and personal understanding, which is what happens after you have gone through the difficulty and the fears of failure and most likely failing at, this new thing that you're trying. And but then you come back to what you normally do, and you have a better understanding of it. Like, do you guys remember that lemon challenge that we did in October, right? And I was really pushing myself beyond what I normally do. And one of the lessons that really stood out was when I did that flush pink background and the lemons, and I thought this is going to be an awful painting, and actually it wasn't. By pushing the colors, by doing something that I never do. That's one of the paintings from that monthly period of doing all those lemons that really, really rested within me. And I'm thinking, okay, so I can take a wild pink color as a background and paint lemons. Or what if I take that wild pink color and do a dog portrait with, if it's the style, I'm thinking a greyhound, right? I don't know why I'm thinking of like a greyhound style, somewhat of an elegant looking animal with this splashy pink background. And I don't know why I have this image in my mind, but I do. And I wouldn't have had it if I hadn't painted lemons on a pink background, pushing beyond my borders. So how can I take that wild little piece and turn it into an artwork that is up-leveled in some way, that maybe is pushing myself, pushing my own boundaries? Because if I stay comfortable in my artwork, I stay comfortable in where I am in my life. I will stop growing. I will lose interest in growing because it'll be such a big thing when you get too comfortable and you're sitting on the couch all the time. It's an effort to get up and walk to the kitchen, right? That's maybe a strange kind of thing, but I think you know what I mean. Like, the more sedentary you get in your habits, the more difficult it is to make any changes. And it's more difficult to even see that maybe you need to make a few changes. So today, on this Christmas day, which represents the birth of Jesus in this Western world, primarily, at least at the time, that's what it was in the Western world. Not taking it in a religious kind of way, but from that perspective, the birth of a new part of me as an artist, as a human being, maybe by going through the labor of stepping beyond my own borders and pushing my own boundaries, that I will give birth to a more expanded version of me that maybe is not so lost in the ego package, and maybe being a little bit more open into the world, maybe taking some of my sedentary habits and pushing them out to be more, to honor more my family structure, my family level. People who are really close to me might know what I'm talking about. Maybe pushing beyond will help me open up to see things that I just don't normally see, not only in my artwork, but within me as well. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at today. So I'm thinking rather than starting on the new year, I'm going to start today with that thought. I need to do some up leveling, excuse me, in my personal life. I need to do some refocusing on the role that I'm playing in this life here on this tiny little Greek island, whatever is happening right now in this world here. There are some things that I need to do more of, which I have let slide, and just kind of do a repackaging, a pushing out, giving birth to maybe a better version of me. And I know it can be done, and I know it needs to be done, and I know that uh, even though I can be a little bit of the ADHD type, uh, maybe a lot, I actually don't know, but I seem to be kind of here and there and everywhere else, that I can get lost in one thing and ignore some others. So I'm going to try and put that out starting today as for a year and see how I can push some things forward. And I think it's important. We shall see if it pulls through in a positive way, helping me release some deeply embedded blocks that I have always had, that I grew up with, that I really need to let go in a practical way, not in a mental, theoretical kind of way, and that revolves around the people pleasing thing. It revolves around my ego and my defensiveness. and as I make some of these changes in my own painting and come to understanding that I need to push beyond my boundaries and my habits in order to grow as an artist, maybe I need to also do some of that in here as well. And I'm really great up in the theoretical area and philosophizing and actually seeing things. I'm not so good at making them practice, of actually putting them into practice. And that's what I'm starting today. So wish me luck. We'll see how it goes. There's no perfection. I'm just going to build up some of the areas within me that I have left to kind of wither away. And out of fears, fears are always the base of everything. My fear is not being rejected, being accepted, and not being rejected by those I love. I've always carried that. It seems like I was born with that. That little seed fear, that's the one that I carry, and I'm aware of it. But I also have the habit of, just because I'm aware of something, that I think I'm actually working on it. So it's like having the idea of a painting. I have the idea for a painting without actually putting my canvas up and painting it. So is anybody ever going to see the painting? No. Is it ever going to take form? No. It's the same thing. So as long as you're keeping things up here and having ideas, that's it. You can swim and flow. You can be the cloud, and nothing ever really touches the ground and becomes manifest, becomes an actual painting. Becomes an actual painting that you can pick up and show to the world. And your world just might be you in the mirror, right? Or your world might be you and your family, or you and your friends, or you and your community, or maybe you in this online world. We must make our theories and philosophies and beliefs, we must continue that process of limiting the creativity and bringing it down in a physical, manifest form. So, again, coming with today, for those of you who celebrate Christmas, it's a birth, it's a birthing day. It's celebrating the birth, right? So I am following along with that in my own little teeny tiny life here on this teeny tiny little Greek island, and putting forth this new seed, this birth, and planting it, and working towards making more of me as a person who is taking care of the responsibilities that I have in my daily life, in the daily life of my family here on the island. Where we are right now, you all know that we have this, we're still pulling through from the sinking of our fishing boat. So there's another year or two, perhaps longer, that things really need to come into play, and I need to play my part just a little bit more in that. And so those are the intentions. They're pretty clear in my mind. If they're clear up here, I can work them down and push them through. So with that, you guys, have a beautiful, beautiful day today. Be inspired, be creative, be you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and oh, hello, Blanca, here to new birth. As the song says, a change is coming on. Merry Christmas to you and yours. I love that. I'm so glad you're here with me, Blanca. That was a perfect thing for me to hear. Hi. How are you? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well. How sweet. I love this. I love this. I love not feeling that I'm talking into a blank camera with this little green dot that I'm looking at so I can look at you. And I love having the response. I need it. So with that, you guys, I'm so excited. So I would love to hear, I honestly would love to hear if you have new thoughts for new beginnings, for new creations in your own personal life, as well as in your creative life. And creativity does not mean painting, right? It can be anything that you're doing. If you build bridges, you are, a creative person. If you're cooking for your grandkids, that's an act of creativity, right? If you're crunching numbers, you are being creative. It's all the same. It's all the same. So I would love to hear if you're taking on a new thing. I like to start on Christmas Day because it is representative from my culture and the way that I grew up of the birth, and the birth of a child is the beginning of continual growth upwards and outwards and expansion. And it's quite a beautiful symbol for me to work with. So yeah, I'm starting today. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful